we had Lou's talk, the video talking about filmmaking 101. كان في شوية أسئلة. I wanted to get a chance to look at the questions بتاعت filmmaking and see what kind of what's on your mind. لأن أنا my talk is entitled Filmmaking 101 فكنت عايز أتكلم عن the basics of approaching how to make videos. From a technical perspective شوية. بس هو ممكن يا English يا عربي حاضر اوكي طيب English okay طيب Nancy ممكن mics just to have a mic ready for the people yeah English عربي okay طيب can I ask the audience what would you like to know about making videos and I'm gonna take these questions first but I want you to think about because as I go through my talk I want to be mindful of what you want to learn and include that because I've been doing it for a long time and I'll introduce myself a little bit more. If anybody has questions about filmmaking from Lou's talk that are not here, raise your hand. Nancy has a mic she'll be able to give you the mic. Can you provide us with the filmmaking material? Is this question about the actual video of Lou, whoever asked it? If that's the case, if the people want the actual video, can speak to Nancy. We'll figure that out at some point. Does the quality of the video conquers the creativity and the value of the content? This is an amazing question. Does the quality of the video, does the production value, if the video looks really good, is that more important than the creativity and the value of the content? What do you think the answer is? Is it a yes or is it a no? Who thinks yes? Who thinks no? Okay. In my opinion, no. And it's a hard no because if you look at your social media feeds, some of the most shareable content you have seen is stuff shot with iPhone, shot with like handycams, shot with like really poor quality cameras. But the content, the person speaking, or maybe the edit was really, really funny, or whatever it is. Yeah, look at all the videos that have punchlines, like you're watching a video and then suddenly Muhammad Hinidi comes from Saidi fi Gam'a and it's a punchline, and it's really funny. But that's not like super cool or that's not super high production value, but it works. So the creativity is number one. Like that's the main thing. How can we make good videos with a small crew? I'll answer that in my talk. How can we make low budget videos using mobile cameras? That's great. I will answer that in my talk. I'll answer that in my talk also. Okay. Does anybody have any questions with the mic? Going once, going twice. Okay, all right. If we can switch to the slides, please. Function F5. Function F5. Okay. Filmmaking 101, a crash course. What I aim to do with this session is to give you an idea of what it takes to start making videos yourself, whether it's for your ministry, whether it's for your own personal sake, or if you're already in the realm or in the area of ministry and you want to know how to up your level. This is what I'm going to be talking about also. My name is Mark Hanna. I'm a director. I'm also a DOP, which is بالعربي مدير تصوير, which is the person behind the camera. And I'm also an editor, a video editor. And I've been doing this since I was 12. I started from when Windows Movie Maker 1.0 came out, which is, in 1999, Windows released a video editing app. And I learned, I can put two pictures together and I can tell a story. Let me try to do more of this. And I fell in love with filmmaking. I fell in love with the craft. And I did not have fancy cameras. I did not have fancy anything. But I learned and I taught myself. And that's something that is actually very easy to do, especially today because of the amount of resources there are online. I used to live in Canada, and I moved to Egypt 3 years ago. I used to be a software engineer, and my passion was always filmmaking. I got a job in Egypt, and I picked up my entire life and moved here 3 years ago. And I have not looked back ever since. Most of the people ask me, like, yeah, normally everybody goes the opposite way from from Egypt to Canada. But so luckily, I had a really great door open for me here in Egypt. And the media industry in Egypt, ammatan, is incredible. There's a space here, there's a market and an industry here where people understand the value of good media. We're in a media summit right now, and so that the value is definitely there. I've been incredibly lucky to work with some really big clients, and it's I worked at an advertising agency for a bit, and so through them I was able to work with clients like Netflix, Coke, Uber, Red Bull, and it was great learning opportunities. And so thankfully, through working with these types of brands, we were able to kind of figure out what it takes to perform on the big level, but also not spend $1 million kind of thing. What we're going to be going through today is developing a story. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about story structure, camera technology, visual storytelling, which is something that Lou had talked about earlier, the importance of audio and lighting, and some online resources that you can go to further your craft, and things that I watch on a daily basis. So I've also, some of the slides I have on there are going to be purely like lists that I might not get into, but I also recognize that some people might be taking screenshots. I will leave some of the lists on there. Part 1, developing a story. You've heard the expression that story is king, and that was the question earlier, which is, is the creativity more important, or is the visuals? It's actually the story, and I've learned this this lesson very bitterly, actually, because in the beginning of when I first bought like a big fancy camera, it was around 2010, and all I wanted to do was like, oh, I can now make really good looking things. I can make videos that look beautiful, because I took out a bank loan for $1,000. I bought this camera. I got a lens set and everything. I'm like ready to go. By the way, I had no idea how to use it, but I was like, oh, out of the box, it looks great. And I started making videos with my friends, and every single person came back with the exact same response. Hey man, your videos look great. I understood nothing. And I was like, yeah, but did you see like the sun was there and I got that slow motion shot? They're like, yeah, it was great. Understood nothing. Like, what was the point? Why did I watch this for 4 minutes? And I was very pushy. Like, I was like, yeah, but like there was this action sequence and they jumped around and we did this and we did that. And do you know how to do it? It's like, yeah, that's great. But still, what was the message of this video? And that really challenged me, and I had a lot of friends come and give me this piece of feedback. Why are you making these videos that do not have a message? And it really ingrained in me, to the point that I reached the point where I stopped making videos, because I realized what was my message. So every time you start with a video, there's this thing when in Hollywood, when they make movies, they do something called a log line, okay? A log line is basically your one line. It's a one-liner that describes your video or your idea or your film or whatever it is you're trying to make. Because you could also be making films for your ministry. CV does it all the time. Shadik does it all the time. So what is your log line? And I have here examples of some log lines. Kudos to you if you can find out. Like, for example, the first one, computer hacker learns mysterious rebels about the true nature of his reality, and there's a real war against its controllers. That's a little bit complicated, but it's the Matrix. So like, if you think about it. Your log line is the beginning of your video project. Can you break down your idea into one statement, right? And so once you have that, once you started there, let's talk about your story. This is a very classic approach to storytelling. It's called the 3-act structure. The 3-act structure is basically setup, conflict, and resolution. Within that, there are your characters, and I'm going to show you something about characters, and I'll go back to that. Can we play the first video, The Hero's Journey? feel like we need some music. Do, 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 do. This is also a great video, just saying. It's okay, close this one, and then just open, right-click close, and then just open video number 1. Full screen.
What do Harry Potter, Katniss Everdeen, and Frodo all have in common with the heroes of ancient myths? What if I told you they are all variants of the same hero? Do you believe that? Joseph Campbell did. He studied myths from all over the world and published a book called The Hero with a Thousand Faces, retelling dozens of stories and explaining how each represents the monomyth, or hero's journey. So, what is the hero's journey? Think of it as a cycle. The journey begins and ends in the hero's ordinary world, but the quest passes through an unfamiliar, special world. Along the way, there are some key events. Think about your favorite book or movie. Does it follow this pattern? Status quo, that's where we start. 1 o'clock, call to adventure. The hero receives a mysterious message, an invitation, a challenge. 2 o'clock, assistance. The hero needs some help, probably from someone older and wiser. 3 o'clock, departure. The hero crosses the threshold from his normal, safe home and enters the special world and adventure. We're not in Kansas anymore. 4 o'clock, trials. Being a hero is hard work. Our hero solves a riddle, slays a monster, escapes from a trap. 5 o'clock, approach. It's time to face the biggest ordeal, the hero's worst fear. 6 o'clock, crisis. This is the hero's darkest hour. He faces death and possibly even dies, only to be reborn. 7 o'clock, treasure. As a result, the hero claims some treasure, special recognition, or power. 8 o'clock, result. This can vary between stories. Do the monsters bow down before the hero, or do they chase him as he flees from the special world? 9 o'clock, return. After all that adventure, the hero returns to his ordinary world. 10 o'clock, new life. This quest has changed the hero. He has outgrown his old life. 11 o'clock, resolution. All the tangled plot lines get straightened out. 12 o'clock, status quo, but upgraded to a new level. Nothing is quite the same once you're a hero. Many popular books and movies follow this ancient formula pretty closely, but let's see how well The Hunger Games fits the hero's journey template. When does Katniss Everdeen hear a call to adventure that gets the story moving? When her sister's name is called from the lottery. How about assistance? Is anyone going to help her on her adventure? Hey, Mitch. What about departure? Does she leave her ordinary world? She gets on a train to the capital. Okay, so you get the idea. What do you have in common with Harry Potter, Katniss Everdeen, and Frodo? Well, you're human, just like them. The hero's journey myth exists in all human cultures and keeps getting updated because we humans reflect on our world through symbolic stories of our own lives. You leave your comfort zone, have an experience that transforms you, and then you recover and do it again. You don't literally slay dragons or fight Voldemort, but you face problems just as scary. Joseph Campbell said, "In the cave you fear to enter lies the treasure you seek." What is the symbolic cave you fear to enter? Auditions for the school play? Baseball tryouts? Love? Watch for this formula in books, movies, and TV shows you come across. You will certainly see it again, but also be sensitive to it in your own life. Listen for your call to adventure. Accept the challenge. Conquer your fear and claim the treasure you seek. And then, do it all over again.
This this is one of my favorite videos that ever explained this concept. I'd love to encourage you and invite you to jot down. It's called The Hero's Journey. Read into it because it really informs how to tell stories about character. And you saw that the loop and the cycle that your character goes through. Now, on an hour-and-a-half scale of video or movie, yeah, there's time to go through every single phase. But if you're doing a 3 or 4 minute video, it could be broken down into just maybe 4 of the main steps. So if you look at it as a clock, 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and then back again. Think about that in terms of structuring your story. Because it's a tried and true method when it comes to creating content. And that can happen on a video that is based on a character, or that could be just a social media video that you just take that approach of, what is my conflict and where is my hero? My hero doesn't need to be a person. My hero could be a concept. If we're in ministry, my hero could be, the problem that the hero solves is the ministry that I'm in. Anyway, I would love to brainstorm with you. I love brainstorming, so please come talk to me about your ministry and how you would like to do videos for it. And I'd love to brainstorm ideas with you on that during lunchtime or throughout today or tomorrow. So back to story structure. So Kida, we saw the hero's journey. Let's also, and it's also broken down, or it's encapsulated inside the 3-act structure. And the 3-act structure is another way to look at story structure, which is there's a setup. So in the beginning, you're setting up the world that you're in. And then plot point number 1 is the conflict. What is the main conflict? Your video there must be a conflict that is happening in your video. This was the point of feedback that I got. There was no setup. There was just action happening or whatnot. And people were seeing cool visuals, but they didn't understand the why. They didn't understand why this video is saying or why these people are doing this specific thing in that video. And then there's a resolution. There's something called a build and punch. This is like a concept that I like to use for smaller videos, which is you start in the middle of the action, and everything escalates. So if this is a type of video where you're asking people questions to lead them down a thought experiment or a thought process, keep the questions, increase the intensity as a way to pull people in and then give them the payout. And I think we saw that in Lou's video where he starts his videos right like in the beginning, in the middle of the action. You're seeing people's emotions. You're seeing people being incredibly expressive with something. You don't know what it is, but it hooks you. So that's like he builds that up, and then it leads to that punchline of the transformation and the story of their transformation. And one more thing, when you're looking at story structure, whether you're looking at a scene, whether you're looking at a video, whether you're looking at, creating any kind of content, intention and obstacle. What is my intention for, telling this story, or what is my hero's or my main character's intention in this story or in this scene? And what is the obstacle that they are going to run into? A very good example of that is if I'm going to write a story about somebody going to pick up groceries, right? My intention is to go pick up groceries, but then I'm gonna write in some obstacles. For example, there's a essayist that wants 20 pounds tip from me. There is somebody in the street that wants to pickpocket me. There is my mother-in-law that I don't want to I want to avoid. So these are obstacles that I find on the way to grocery shopping. So that's intention and obstacle. Always think about that whenever you're telling stories or you want to be telling stories in videos. I have to do like a fancy thing here. It's not working. No, next slide, please. Yep, no, okay. Yep. Okay, we can go to the next one. I already covered this, it's fine. Yeah, we can also go to the next one. I already covered this one. It's okay. Okay, so some tips and tricks when making your videos. I'm going to show you 2 videos here. Whenever you're making videos, a lot of the times, you're writing a script or you're writing something and, it says, and the person was happy, or and the person was surprised, or whatever. And a lot of the times when we're acting, a lot of times we see it's like very subtle movements. Like, oh, somebody was happy and they just do a smiley face or whatever. A lot of the times, especially with shorter videos where you don't have time, exaggerate the action a little bit to get the message across. And it will be very obvious what the story is being told. And to demonstrate that, I want to show you an ad from Nescafe Italy. The voiceover is all in Italian, but you at the end, you'll be the judge whether you can understand the story or not. So video number 2, please.
A rosszabb már nem is lehetne nap. A bánom, hogy élek nap. Az ez is csak velem nap. Na nem már nap. A hátam közepére nap. A minden összeesküdött, ti, akiket ma is bosszúságok érnek, ez a film nektek szól. Ha ma is rád talált, a ballábbal keltem nap, a miért éppen én nap, a kész őrület nap, a mindjárt megnap, a rosszabb már nem is lehetne nap, a bánom, hogy élek nap, az ez is csak velem nap, na nem már nap, a hátam közepére nap, a minden összeesküdött nap, a mit tettem, hogy ezt érdemlem nap, na de ez most komoly nap, az agyamat eldobom nap, a már csak ez hiányzott nap, az ezt nem hiszem el nap, a ledobom a láncot nap, a szétvet az ideg nap, a kilövöm az űrbe magam nap, a mindenki elmehet a... Indítsd újra a napod egy új Nescafé 3 az 1-bennel. Lágy krémréteg, hogy elfelejtsd a hosszúságokat, és 100% kávé, hogy újra kezdhesd. Nescafé 3 az 1-ben klasszik és új klasszik krema. Ti, akiket ma is...
I think that was very obvious, right? Yani, again, think about how you can communicate without necessarily like this. Anybody can see this and will understand it, and that's the beauty of, I guess, what will segue into like visual storytelling, which is show us what's going on. A lot of the times, and I will say this like about like hatta Egyptian cinema, you find that a movie is going great, you know, a lot of you fall in love with the character and everything, but then the movie gets so complicated, and the last half an hour, it's just the hero is literally reading a script off of a page. And then we went there, and then we went there, and then we talked to this person, and then we said this, and then we went there. Show it to me. Don't show, don't tell is really the mantra. Now, when it comes to visual storytelling, there's two rules that I'm going to share with you. Loop touched up on them, and I will give them to you because these are small nuggets of information. This is a slide you might want to just take a photo of just for your reference. And when it comes to lenses, I'll explain this very briefly in a second. But when it comes to visual storytelling, I'm going to share with you 2 rules. One thing called the rule of thirds, and the other one called leading lines. And there are 2 concepts for you to take in consideration whenever you're taking a photo, whenever you're filming a video, framing a video, how to make it look good by doing these tiny little things. When it comes to cameras and camera choices, I'm very quickly going to talk about lenses. These, what you see is 8 to 15 or 16 to 35. These are things called focal lengths, or just like a range. Anything closer to 0 means that my angle of view, these are all angles, right? So if it's closer to 0, then it's like this. If it's 16, then you're seeing this. If it's 50, then you're seeing something like this, right? So the bigger the number, the smaller the view, which means it's more zoomed in, right? Think of it as if I'm looking at Ashraf, for example. If I have a lens that is at the number of 16, and this is my field of view, then I'm seeing Ashraf at the center, and I'm seeing everybody else. But if I'm at 200, then I'm just literally focused on Ashraf, and he's exactly right there, and then I can only see everybody behind Ashraf. So that's why the bigger number means you're more zoomed in, and the smaller number means you're at a wider angle. These are things to take in consideration, and these are lens numbers. Feel free to talk to me about this if you're specifically interested in this after the session. So, rule of thirds. Follow this, and believe me, every single picture you take or every single video you take will immediately look better. It's called the rule of thirds because the screen is split up into 3 chunks. And then there's these two lines here. These are where people's eyes naturally go, these corners here. And if you put anything on that corner, it's aesthetically pleasing to the eyes. And this was done, like this was a concept that was born out of mathematical research and analysis of photos and whatnot to find out where your eye naturally leads. So if you put anything on those corners, it will look good. Another example here is if you've always wondered why interview videos have people on one side of the frame versus the other, it's because of that rule, the rule of thirds. If you're taking photos in nature or like even the traffic light, try to place your traffic light in one of those four corners. It will look better. On your iPhone, if you go into your settings, camera settings, there's a thing called grid. You can just activate it and it will put that for you, and it will revolutionize the rest of your photo and video making career. And whenever you're shooting interviews or if you're shooting somebody speaking, this is a great reference. So if you look, I just Googled rule of thirds interview, and I was able to get these frames. And this is something that's really good to reference when you are about to embark on a video project that you want to make. You can use reference images to just guide the decision making you want to do. Social media, we all use our phone, my phone's not with me, but we all use our phones in the vertical. We were talking about Instagram stories. Okay, yeah. We were talking about Instagram stories. So if you are someone who is taking vertical video, this is another way to apply your the rule of thirds. This one in the middle specifically, if you're taking a photo of someone, or if you want to do an interview with someone, or you want to go live with someone, just think about how to frame them in such a way that is pleasing to the eye, and placing them on somewhere on the corners. One thing to note in here is to place the two eyes between between the corner, because if your eye naturally goes towards there, you're already locking eyes. Think about looking at anybody right here, it looks like you're already looking at them there. And here, this one is also incredibly powerful, and to fill the frame. So this is if you're doing Instagram stories or like face-facing videos or whatnot, this is a really good way to get like a good-looking frame, which is placing your eyes on the corners, the top two corners there. So again, basic things, but will change the way you take photos, and it will really like help enhance kind of your visual storytelling. The next up is called leading lines. This one is slightly more complicated, or not complicated, but slightly more complex. But it's this idea where think about in your frame, think about where, like, what is the first thing you see here? Somebody just yell it. What is the first thing you see here? The lighthouse, right? Why? Because everything here, it's like one big line leading you towards the lighthouse. And so if you're, if I want to take, for example, a photo of someone standing in the corner there, I can actually place my camera here looking at them. And I have this line that is leading my eye line or leading my eyesight to that person or to the subject. So think about that. I have another example. I chose these two specifically because these are photos we can actually go and take, right? Going up an escalator and taking a photo of someone. Try to like get your camera in the center and use the escalator's natural geometry that are like pointing upwards to capture your subject. Same thing for here. And if these are videos, like spend the extra 2 minutes, set up your camera on a tripod, try to find, do I have any leading lines? Or do I have any rule of thirds that I can follow to make sure my shot looks good? And these are like very helpful ways, or like ways to start kind of enhancing your visual storytelling. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about camera technology and whatnot. Again, feel free to like ping me with this a little bit later for if you're interested, Yanni, to go deeper into this. Basically, every lens, right, it has an opening, right? This is basically what this circle is. Think of this as your lens. And so it makes sense. If the lenses open up a little bit more, it's letting in more light. But it's also blurring the background. If you've always wondered how to get like that blurry background, it's called an f-stop. And so I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but you can ask me about this slide, and I'm happy to jump into the details and the specifics. But basically, the f-stop of a lens, the lower the number is, the more blurry the background. It's like that's the one-to-one relationship. A lower number in the f-stop, more blurry background. A higher number in the f-stop, everything, I can see everything. So these are things to think about. I'm not going to go into the details of shutter speed and whatnot, just because for time's sake. This is the same concept of shooting in like having a bigger light. I'm going to talk about a little bit about lighting. So one of the things that Lou talked about was lighting. And I recently was very lucky to be on a movie set a few weeks ago, and I snapped all these photos of how they use lighting in certain situations, and it was really cool to see how simple lighting techniques are on like big blockbuster movies. So right here, you see this is an LED panel, and this is something you can rent out for a couple of £100 per day. So if you have a video that you're shooting, and if you're shooting an interview or whatnot, think about renting an LED panel, because it's really going to help just add some light to the face. Over here, this is a really interesting one. We were just shooting in the outdoors, and all they did was just have a big white board. And what that board did was it bounces the light onto the person, or it reflects the sunlight onto the person. Which was really cool. And then here, if you ever wonder how it's always dark in the car, but in movies, their faces are pretty well lit, they have a nice little light there that's flexible, that's added there to give a little shine on the face. So always think about how can I just add some shine to the face, whether sometimes if I'm stuck, I literally use my iPhone flashlight. And that helps keep me going. This is just another example of like how they get this look in movies. They just literally put a really big light outside, something similar to the lights we have up there, but a little bit bigger, and it gives like this really nice cool effect. Last thing is audio. Audio is it's like 50% of your video, and it's one of those things where you can have the most beautiful looking video, but if your audio is bad, your video is bad immediately. It's one of those secrets that people don't talk about, or like unsung heroes, but audio. And over here, I've put in the most basic audio equipment you can use that gets you a really, really good audio quality. And I've done so much filming. I do a lot of traveling and filming on projects, and like, over here, literally, that's all I have. I have my camera and I have my mic, and I'm able to get amazing audio quality. And this is not like there's nothing super special about my setup here. It's just a camera and a mic, but that mic is able to get me really good audio quality. So then when I'm editing videos later on, it makes a world of a difference, because I can actually hear the people, and then that allows me to be on the road and get interviews with people or shoot people or whatnot that I wouldn't normally have because I didn't have audio. Online resources, this is my last slide. Feel free to take a snapshot of this one as well, because these are all YouTube channels that I follow that go heavy into filmmaking and are really good give really good examples of the technical side of things. For storytelling, I honestly would encourage you to watch commercials. I go on YouTube and I go on Vimeo, and sometimes I just search commercials and I jot some notes on some of the commercials that I found. The Nescafe ad that you guys saw was something from my record that I had saved like months ago. But it's something that it was a really good ad because the storytelling was really great. So watch commercials. They do a great job in just showing you how you can tell a story in 1 minute. And when we're in the social media space, we're fighting for people's attention. Sometimes, most of the time, you don't even have a minute. You have probably 10 seconds to wow someone to watch your video. If I watch commercials as a way to get ideas and inspiration for how to tell stories. That's basically it. That's all I had. for the recap. What is your story? The type of equipment. Make sure you have some sort of light that you can just light the people's face. Rule of thirds, and the leading lines, and just keep on creating. And as you create, you will obviously get better and learn your craft. But yeah, that's one of the things that I want to also stress on is constantly make. Don't wait too long between one thing and the other. In the beginning, it will always not feel like the quality you want it to be, but that's okay. A lot of the big filmmakers that I follow, all of them say you have at least 30 short films that are really bad in you before you start making a good one. So I think I'm on film like 12. So I still have like 15 or 18 more bad films to make before I start making a good film. And I'm okay with that because you learn in the process in each one. Any question? S. Mark, how did you learn on this? What is the best way to become a good filmmaker? As I was saying, just keep on doing and keep on practicing. Like figure out your step one. So if you want to make videos, you don't need to have a good camera. You don't need to. You just need to. You need a phone, and people are making viral videos with phones. So start with your phone. There are a lot of video editing apps on mobiles. There's something called Adobe Rush. There's something called LumaFusion. LumaFusion is a $30 app, but in all honesty, it's $30 worth of the same type of editing you do on a laptop. So if you have an iPad or something, and you want to invest in editing on your iPad, you can do that on this app, and I've done it before. And just, this is something that I get excited about. So find what part of filmmaking excites you and start diving into it. Whether that's taking good photos, taking good videos, whether that's, I really like editing, so I learn a little bit more about editing, or break down videos that you like. Just consuming the things that you like will just get you in the mindset of, I saw this on one video, let me try doing the same thing here. هل توجد مواد بالعربي لتعليم إنتاج الأفلام القصيرة؟ للأسف أنا مش بدور على حاجات بالعربي. كل الحاجات اللي أنا بدور عليها بالإنجليزي. فيوتيوب مليان حاجات in English. بس الconcepts هي it's not very difficult to pick up. What do you think is a cool way in video making to reach a young audience? Short videos. Short videos is your way to go, and short videos with إفيهات with short funny videos is really the way to go if you want to reach a young audience, because I've seen that successful time and time again. What are some creative ways that ministries can bridge the gap and start making visual content that appeals to a broader secular audience? I think this needs to be Ashraf, I think this needs to be a talk on its own. Creative ways that ministries can bridge the gap and start making visual content that appeals to a broader secular audience. I think it's a great question, but I think it's a little bit too broad because, what kind of secular audience do you want to reach? Do you want to reach them with a message of Christian values? Well, there's ministries that are doing that right now. I think Sherik does a lot of really cool type of stuff. Just off the top of my mind, Sherik does a lot of cool stuff that is Christian value based. That doesn't necessarily, feed you with hey, here's the gospel. Oh, hey, here's the gospel. So that's kind of the example that comes to mind. But whoever asked that question, I'd love to have this conversation with you more one-on-one, and we can brainstorm ideas and go deeper into it. How TV production is different from social media production. Does it challenge you to make good quality content versus trending? Who is currently making great vertical story videos in its own format? Okay. TV production from social media production. I've been on a TV commercial before, and just to be mindful of time, I'll take this question and the two more, and that way we can just kind of end for a break for lunch. TV production is very expensive. Unnecessarily, to be honest, because they spend so much money on making the visuals look really great, and sometimes the commercials look really good and the commercials have a really nice, funny idea, but think of last Ramadan. What was one of the most popular video ad or TV ads in Ramadan was Carriage. Does anybody remember that? Carriage, Alan Carriage. had one person in the back, two people in the back. Okay, it's you know those like it's like three people and it's really funny and they're going back and forth and like the old guy and the delivery guy and the pizza وكده. Anyway, all I'm saying is they probably spent like £1 to £2 million to make a video like that. When in actuality, if you did it with just a good camera that costs you £2,000 to rent per day, and some lights and a small crew, with the same script, you would have reached the same result. So people don't need to spend that much. For social media, it's more common now that the person shooting is the person editing and is the person that's being the creative behind it. So if you're trying to think about how you can build a team, look for people like that can shoot and come up with ideas and edit those ideas as well. Because that way you can move faster. You don't need to wait for 4 different people to get together in a room, a director and a cinematographer and a videographer and a cameraman and an editor. That's like 4 or 5 different people doing different things. You can only use one person that does it all. So that's the biggest difference between social media production and TV. Does it challenge you to make quality content versus what's trending? I don't know, because good quality content could be trending and could be not trending. Like what are you aiming to do? Are you aiming to make something that's trending? طيب, okay. What is trending? And you really, in order to do something that's like on the verge of trending, you need to know the insight behind why it's trending. Is it funny because the actor said a certain type of joke? Is it funny because it's filmed in a certain way? Or is it good because it's filmed in a certain way? Yeah, there's so many different things that go into this idea of it's trending versus it's good. But like, if it's trending, that means it's probably good. So try to break down what those trending videos did and see if you can replicate it. For the person asking books and stuff for e-learning videos, come talk to me after. I can give you more details. And what is the typical video duration for each social media platform? There's no rule. I don't think there's a rule. The general sense is if it's good, keep going. But if it's no longer good, like stop. Because that's when people swipe away. So if you're making a 2-minute video, I'm sure everybody has watched a 2-minute video or a 5-minute video, or even Lou made a 7-minute video of a testimonial on social media and it had 10 million views. So does that mean if I go and make a 7-minute video of me standing on stage, it's gonna get 7 million views? Not really, it's not. But as long as it's good, keep going. There's nothing stopping you. Start asking yourself, do I really need to go past, if it's a video that's 30 seconds, do I need to go make it 1 minute or 2 minutes? Depends on your content. Who is currently making great story vertical videos? Is this its own format? I don't think it's not an own format, it's just you're filming in a vertical way. Marwan Yunus does amazing vertical videos. And if you watched, he's a media personality. And he did a video clip recently that he launched for his new song, and he did a song last year, and all he did for his video clip, like official video clip, was ask people to take vertical videos of themselves doing like a little dance, and it's performing amazing on social media. Again, Marwan Yunus is somebody who, if you look at my rule of thirds slides, like he does it well. Like he frames himself really well and whatnot. And he's someone who I've had conversations with before about his form of content creation. And it's not by luck. He's very intentional about how he does the things that he's doing, and it's working really well. So he's someone to kind of watch and deconstruct the way he does vertical videos for his social media, because it's working, and clearly there's something there for us to take away. Thank you very much.